What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MyMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and this is my recap of Daryl Dixon, Season 2, Episode 5. Again, blind. I'm blind, and this is on AMC Plus without audio description, so join me on this journey as we talk about what it's like to be a blind person watching Daryl Dixon. I've been doing this, actually, for the whole run of the show, and I have not heard anything from AMC as to, you know, what's up. So, I don't think they're actually deeply concerned about accessibility needs, but I've heard that this airs on AMC with audio description, question mark. I was unaware that AMC offered live audio description, but it's not one of the channels that's required to. So maybe it does. But that defeats the purpose of having AMC Plus, where you're supposed to be able to watch Daryl Dixon in advance. Remember the whole thing where the subscribe to AMC and you'll get to watch The Walking Dead days before. Well, they still do that for the other shows. They don't do it as far out in advance as they used to. It used to be like Thursday. But they do put this up ahead of time for the fans. So it's like, well, but aren't I the one that's supposed to be getting the advantages here? I feel like I'm not getting the advantages. So very, very odd life choices if that's happening. And I don't even have confirmation on that. That was just like a surmise that somebody posted on the last video. So yeah, this is Carol and Daryl. They've made it out since the last episode, and they are off to find their pilot and also the kid, and they need to get up out of there and leave. And basically that's the whole episode. At first they go and they find LeBron, who's like, I'm not leaving. Where is well, and unfortunately, bad news. Your Isabel didn't make it, and I think LeBron's upset about that, and that affects his decision. So he stays sort of with the group, but it's like the safer part of the group. It's not the crazy guy that's trying to kill him as like a martyr, to prove that, like, I don't even know what it would prove at that point, because it's like he's basically like The Last of Us, where he was like born from a zombie, and it hadn't affected him. So they think that his blood is the cure. But if you bite him, are you gonna just start drinking his blood? Like, I don't even understand what the point of his character is. I'm trying to think about his logic, and I'm like, what is his logic? He's like, oh, it shows that God and faith and that the world is rebuilding. And he's back in this episode, by the way, being a complete fucking asshole again. Still trying to kill this kid, and it's just like, what is your thought? Like, has anybody ever actually stopped and asked this dude and been like, okay, so let's say Laurent is bit and he doesn't turn, and you're right. Then what? None of us were born from zombie moms. Are we all supposed to start screwing women and then getting them pregnant and then killing them and then birthing new children out of them? Like, have zombie kids and then hoping that we did the timing right? Like, what is your plan? What is his plan? His plan makes no sense. His plan is like, well, we'll show. And it's like, yeah, okay, so he has it, but that doesn't mean that you do. Otherwise, why wouldn't you offer yourself up if you had so much faith up there in the world that Laurent was turning the tide? Why wouldn't you offer yourself up? Fuck that guy. Anyway, also I think the writers are just, they're stuck in between a rock and a hard place, where Carol's here and now they're having to like full throttle through, get rid of all these people, get out of here, and figure out how to get everybody to America, which is, again, this show highly highlights what I was saying the last episode, which is Carol found Daryl so fast in comparison to everybody else who's ever looked for anybody on the show. Carol was like in America, she flew over, and she was with Daryl in France within minutes, pretty much, of getting in France. Like, she like lands and gets to Daryl like gets information. She finds somebody who knows Daryl in a giant country within the same episode. And then she gets to Daryl in the next episode, and it's just like, goddamn, she should have found Rick. Just send Carol to find people. She is objectively better at finding things than Michonne, was the title of my last recap. So they find LeBron, because of course they do, because now they have Carol, she is the greatest Hufflepuff that ever was. She is the finder of all finders. She has taken finders keepers to the next level. She is everything. Where is it? Oh, I know where it is. It's right over there, you know. But they need to find the pilot, which is a little bit harder. So they have to go back into the city, go back into the club, which is now being run by one of the girls from the previous season. No, I don't know which one. Audio description really helps. You sighted people rely way too much on facial recognition for characters without knowing their names. There were so many characters that came in and out of The Walking Dead that were like around in the background for characters, and it took me episodes upon episodes to learn their names, and that was with facial recognition. Like the guy, I've forgotten his name now, but I did at one point know the guy that Carol was dating back in Alexandria. I did know his name. And I always remember my friends being impressed. I'm like, who? I was like, that guy. Who? And I'm like, the guy, Carol's older boyfriend that she's dating. She's just sitting on the porch talking to him. I can't remember his name now. He's a very minor character. In case you question my Walking Dead fanship, there you go. I remember that shit. So there were so many times in this episode where I was hoping that Carol would bring up, because it ends up she has eventually to get back to whatever the hell his name is, the pilot. Daryl's like, does he know? Like, what did you tell him? And Carol's like, well, I kind of lied. She had the opportunity to share the experiences. Like, he's lost one kid, but Carol's thing was kind of like, she's lost a lot of kids. I mean, the whole Look at the Flowers episode, she had a chance, and I think the writers missed a huge opportunity here to even have Daryl sit down and be like, hey man, I know what she did sucked, but let me tell you a little something about Carol when I met her. And then like go through the whole thing of all of the kids that they've lost over the years, and all of the death that she's seen, and all the kids that she is connected to, because she's sort of been like the Grim Reaper. Put a kid too close to her and the kid's gonna die. You know, like it's sad, but it's true. And I mean, all the way even Carl, you know, I mean, like Judith is lucky that she survived Carol, not the zombie apocalypse, but Carol, like her proximity to Carol as a child. So the fact that they could have brought that lore in and given it more context, you know, when they're talking about when he doesn't quite understand and he gets mad at her, he's like, well, you used your daughter's death for this. And it's like, dude, you don't even understand what Carol's gone through. Like, she moved to a cabin to be by herself because too many kids had died. She had seen too many kids die. Like, there's so many things that The Walking Dead built up that they could have gone back into, that either Carol or Daryl could have explained, and they didn't choose to do that here. And I think it's a missed opportunity, because let's be honest, Daryl Dixon does not have a whole lot of fans that didn't watch The Walking Dead. Like, probably the ratings are down comparatively to The Walking Dead in general, and I'm guessing 95% of the people who watch the show watch the flagship series. There might be a couple people who like stumbled in here because they're like, "Ooh, I like French things," but pretty much everybody's watched the show, so we know what Carol's backstory is. Why are you hiding it from this character who could benefit from actually getting knowledge? And I think, because he's looking at it very myopically, because he only knows what Carol's told him. But Daryl knows the whole story. And either Carol or Daryl could have sat down and been like, hey, I need to tell you something. You know, or like, especially if it came from Daryl, like the understanding of him watching her as a friend, I think would have been really impactful. And this is why, like, I'm like, the writers are just they're not being given the time to be able to explore characters. They're being forced to kill off things. They're like, now we want to get back to the Daryl and Carol spinoff. We got to get out of France. Like, I feel like that's where we're headed. And I know, like, at the end of this, you hear like Carol saying, like, I'm gonna make sure you guys get home, even if it means I stay behind. I'm like, you guys are gonna end up. I mean, maybe at the end of the season you don't leave France, and then, but like the whole thing is gonna be like they keep executing characters who've been around for a while, so it's just gonna keep being more of that. And then eventually it'll just be Daryl and Carol doing some new adventure. Maybe they'll leave France and go into Germany or something. I don't know, but uh, who knows? Um, but it's just we know where the show is headed, and it doesn't matter like which villain is looking for who or what at this point. I contextually don't even understand some of the things that they were in. There was a scene where like shit seemed to have hit the fan, and there were a lot of zombies, and I heard Daryl shoot a couple crossbows. I don't even know how they got out of that. To be 100% honest, I didn't even fully understand that scene as a blind person with no audio description. And that's kind of like what a lot of the life is about, is I'm making it through scenes where people speak in French. I'm making it through like zombie sequences where I just hear a lot of it's a lot of fun for me. But I'm a loyal Walking Dead fan, and I'm going to use my platform to talk about why it should have audio description, and also to talk about it in a constructive way where clearly, as a Walking Dead fan, it's like, these are the things that I notice, and I don't understand why we're forgetting Carol's backstory, why you bring up this one thing, but then I think you think that the fans forgot all of the other kids and that whole storyline where she had to move into the house. She like left the community, and then it was like it took a lot for people to kind of get her to open up. Remember Ezekiel like bring her fruit basket type thing to try to like be like, hey, what's up? How you doing? And Daryl doing like a wellness check, and like people still like going to her as she tried to like be left alone, and she was worried. Essentially what Laurent was going through, which is like, am I the reason why people are dying? I think Carol was like, am I the reason all these kids have died? Just such a missed opportunity. Such a missed opportunity. So, because every time she ends up opening up her heart to another kid, it just dies. And he lost one kid, and she's seen so many of them over the years, and he lost one, and it destroyed him, and he just stayed in his house and didn't move. And this lady's picked herself up after everyone and tried to fix the next one and try to keep the next one alive, against all odds. But yeah, so unfortunately every grade I give Daryl Dixon is unwatchable because it doesn't have audio description, and there are large chunks of it I can't understand. But I just wish they were doing more with the writing. Acknowledge the fact that you came from something, and these characters came from somewhere, and a little bit more than what you're doing. And there's more lore and there's more backstory there. And don't worry so much about like, well, but the new fans, the casual fans, there are no new fans here. There's like 5 guys somewhere, maybe, who stumbled onto the show and haven't watched the main series. But let's be honest, everyone else watched at least part of The Walking Dead through some of those deaths. They may have left when Negan, took a swing at Glenn, or when Rick left the show, which were the 2 sort of biggest leaving points for people. But they are quite familiar with Carol's backstory. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I'll see you guys next week with more thoughts on Daryl Dixon.